Graduation day arrived with me hiding in a bathroom stall, hands shaking as I swallowed 2 pills to steady my nerves. Outside, my mom was saving seats, beaming with pride about her daughter graduating top of her class. She had no idea I'd been high for 6 months straight, that the study medication Principal Thornton personally provided was slowly destroying me from the inside. I stepped out into the June sunlight, cap and gown perfectly pressed, smile rehearsed in the mirror 100 times. My heart hammered against my ribs while my mouth tasted like copper and lies. Families cluttered the bleachers with cameras and balloons, everyone playing their assigned roles in the theater of graduation day. Vanessa caught my arm as I passed. My childhood best friend, today's student speaker, the only person who knew the truth. She looked at me with those knowing eyes and whispered, "You look awful. Your pupils are huge." I forced a laugh, just nervous about walking. She pressed a note into my palm, her grip tight with urgency. "Meet me after the ceremony. Alone. It's about Thornton." Then she disappeared into the crowd of navy gowns, leaving me with paper burning against my skin like evidence I couldn't hide. When my name echoed through the speakers, Catherine Brennan, summa cum laude, I walked across the stage hearing applause like it was underwater. Principal Thornton shook my hand, his grip lingering a moment too long, his smile knowing and proprietary, like I was his creation, his success story, his perfectly managed product. Then Vanessa stepped up to give her speech. 30 seconds in, she went completely off script. "Today I want to talk about invisible battles," she said, her voice carrying across the field, "about the people we trust who poison us slowly while calling it help." My mother wiped tears, thinking it was inspirational. I realized too late it was an intervention disguised as a speech, a public accusation that only I could decode. Then Vanessa locked eyes with me and said the line that made my blood freeze. "The tassel isn't the only thing hanging by a thread today. Some of us are being held up by pills instead of pride." Principal Thornton stood abruptly, his face flushing red. He moved toward the microphone, furious at the deviation. But before he could stop her, Vanessa finished. "And the people who claim to help us are the ones keeping us sick." The ceremony ended in confused applause and whispered questions. I tried to slip away, but got caught in the receiving line where parents shook hands with administrators and everyone performed their gratitude. When I reached Principal Thornton, he gripped my hand so hard my bones ached, smiling for cameras while leaning close enough that I could smell his cologne. "I can smell it on you," he whispered. "And after that little stunt from your friend, we need to have a very serious conversation." He didn't let go of my hand. To anyone watching, he was congratulating me, being fatherly. Behind the curtain near the stage, away from witnesses, he finally released me and his expression shifted from warm to cold in an instant. "You're gonna listen very carefully, Catherine. You need what I provide, and I need you cooperative. You keep my program looking successful. I keep you supplied and your record clean. It's a simple business arrangement." "That's not help. That's reality. You think you can just quit? You think your precious college scholarship survives if your addiction becomes public? I made you valedictorian. I can unmake you just as easily." Before I could respond, my mother appeared in the doorway, her phone raised for photos. The world tilted sideways. My vision swam. I grabbed the curtain to steady myself, and Thornton's smile returned. "Careful," he said loud enough for Mom to hear. "Overwhelming day." Mom insisted on family photos on the lawn. Flash after flash, smile after smile. My younger brother Kyle looking bored in his button-up shirt. The sun was too bright, my skin too hot, the ground unsteady beneath my feet. "Just one more," Mom kept saying, adjusting my cap, straightening my tassel. My knee buckled without warning. I caught myself on Kyle's shoulder, but not fast enough to hide the sway, the unfocused eyes, the slack expression of someone barely holding consciousness. "Why is she acting so weird?" Kyle said, too loud, his voice carrying across the lawn. "Is she drunk?" "She's just emotional," Mom said quickly, grabbing my elbow. "It's a big day, honey." But I saw someone else watching, a woman in a staff badge I didn't recognize, standing near the concession stand with her phone aimed directly at me. The camera flash caught my dilated pupils, my swaying body, Kyle's worried face. We drove home in uncomfortable silence. I stared out the window, trying to remember how normal people acted, trying to calculate how many pills I had left. My phone buzzed in my lap. Unknown number. Nice ceremony. We need to talk about what you stole. Below it, the photo from the lawn, zoomed in on my eyes, with a caption, Prom night, you took something worth more than a diploma. My hands shook typing back. I don't know what you're talking about. 3 dots. Flash drive, Thornton's office. Prom night, you grabbed it, we want it back. Prom was 6 weeks ago. I remembered Thornton calling me for medication adjustment, his computer open, stepping out. Some drunk impulse made me grab the flash drive. I'd woken on a couch with it in my pocket, too afraid to look. Another message, tonight, 8 p.m., Riverside Diner, come alone or photos go public. I met Vanessa behind the auditorium. She grabbed my shoulders. Tell me you still have what you took. How do you know about that? I told you to take it. You were high, don't remember. I saw the files. I thought you'd look, realize what he's doing. What is he doing? She showed me messages. Dominic's back. The dealer Thornton uses. He wants the drive, which means Thornton knows. Across the lot, I saw him. Dominic, talking to Thornton like business partners. Run, don't go home, Vanessa whispered. But I went home because I needed to see what was on that drive. Mom threw dinner while I locked myself in my room, laptop open. What I found made me sick. 73 students. Names, prescriptions, progress notes tracking dependencies. Financial records showing pharmaceutical payments for successful treatment outcomes. Students who stayed medicated. Contracts with Dominic. Emails between Thornton and Dr. Helmsworth discussing patient management. One email. The Brennan girl is responding perfectly. Father won't be a problem. Handled as discussed. Mother is compliant. Handled as discussed. My father's car accident 3 years ago suddenly felt less accidental. A knock. Mom's voice. Honey? Principal Thornton wants to congratulate you personally. I deleted my browsing history, ejected the drive, and hid it inside a tampon box in my bathroom, the one place I figured Thornton wouldn't search. Then I went downstairs with my best performance face on. Thornton sat in our living room holding a wrapped gift, playing the role of caring educator perfectly. Catherine, congratulations again. I wanted to give you this personally. He handed me a small box. Inside was a gold necklace with a pendant that read Success. Below it, a new prescription bottle with my name on it. Your next month's supply, he said warmly, loudly enough for Mom to hear. Dr. Helmsworth wanted to make sure you were set for your college transition. He's so proud of how well you've managed your focus issues. I stared at the bottle, at this evidence of the system he'd built around me, and something inside me cracked. Not broke, cracked in a way that let light in, that let me see clearly for the first time in months. Thank you, I said, taking the bottle. But I think I'd like to try managing without medication for a while. Fresh start. Thornton's smile didn't waver, but something in his eyes hardened. We've discussed this, Catherine. Sudden cessation isn't medically advisable. You don't want to jeopardize your success. I'm sure I'll be fine. After he left, Mom found me in the bathroom, staring at the pills. What did he mean? We've discussed this. I thought the medication was just for studying. I handed her the bottle. Look at the prescribing doctor. She read the label. Dr. Helmsworth. We've never taken you to Dr. Helmsworth. No, but Thornton has. For 3 years, without your consent. I pulled out the flash drive from its hiding place, and I can prove it. We stayed up all night going through the files. Mom's face aged 10 years as she read about the system that had been poisoning me, the contracts that had monetized my addiction, the emails that discussed managing my father's concerns about student welfare. He killed Derek, she whispered, reading the email exchanges. Your father was on the school board. He was asking questions about medication rates, about pharmaceutical company donations. They killed him and made it look like an accident. She looked at me with tears streaming down her face. I knew something was wrong. I knew. But I trusted the school, trusted the principal, thought I was being a paranoid widow. God, Catherine, I'm so sorry. We need to go to the police. With what? A flash drive you stole while high? They'll say it's inadmissible, that you're an addict making accusations. Thornton will claim you fabricated everything out of spite. She wiped her eyes. We need more. We need him to confess on record in a way he can't deny. My phone buzzed. The unknown number. You missed our meeting. Last chance. Tomorrow, Riverside Diner, 8 p.m. Bring the drive or everyone sees the photos. I looked at Mom. What if I go? What if I wear a wire? They'll check you. They'll search you. Then we need backup, someone who knows how to do this right. Mom made a phone call to someone I'd never heard her mention, a former police detective named Marisol Reyes who'd helped her after Dad's death, who'd kept in touch, who'd been waiting years for someone to take Thornton down. Marisol arrived an hour later, all business. Let me see the drive. Marisol sat at our kitchen table reviewing the files with the practiced eye of someone who'd seen corruption before and knew how to document it. This is good, really good. But you're right, it's stolen evidence. We need him to confirm it voluntarily. How? I asked. We get creative. She pulled out equipment from a bag, tiny recording devices, a wire so small it looked like jewelry. You go to the meeting, you act scared, you offer to give back the drive in exchange for them leaving you alone. Get them talking about what's on it, get Thornton to show up personally. That's insane. They could hurt her, Mom said. They could, which is why I'll be there with backup. Catherine wears the wire, we record everything, and the moment she's in danger, we move in. Marisol looked at me. This only works if you can stay calm under pressure. Can you do that? I thought about my father, dead because he asked questions. About the 73 students whose files I'd seen, some marked discontinued, which I suspected was code for overdose or worse. About Vanessa risking everything with her speech. I can do it. The next night, I walked into Riverside Diner at exactly 8 p.m., the flash drive in my pocket, the wire taped against my ribs under my shirt, and terror making my pulse race. Dominic sat in the back booth. Next to him was the woman with the staff badge, Petra Mills, private investigator working for Thornton's network. And across from them, looking supremely confident, sat Principal Thornton himself. Catherine. Thornton smiled like we were meeting for coffee. Please sit. We have so much to discuss. I slid into the booth, hands shaking. I just want this to end. I'll give back the drive. Just leave me alone. Of course, of course. He gestured magnanimously. But first, we need to discuss your future. You see, what's on that drive represents years of work, of helping students like you succeed. It would be unfortunate if it was misunderstood. Helping students? My voice came out stronger than I felt. You created addicts for profit. Thornton's smile didn't waver. Such harsh language. We identified struggling students and provided pharmaceutical support. The fact that some became dependent simply proved they needed ongoing care. Care we were happy to provide. You killed my father. Your father had an unfortunate accident. He was drinking that night, Catherine. The police report was very clear. His tone was patient, like he was explaining something simple to someone slow. But let's not dwell on the past. Let's talk about your future. Petra slid a contract across the table. You're going to university to study social work. Perfect positioning. You'll have access to vulnerable students, the ability to identify good candidates, the trust of counseling staff. We're offering you a partnership. I stared at the paper. You want me to recruit more victims? We prefer to call it expansion, Dominic said, speaking for the first time. You already know how the system works, Golden Girl. You've been part of the product pipeline. Now you can be part of the management team. Good money. Real power. Better than being an addict living on pills we control. Thornton leaned forward, his voice dropping to something almost fatherly. Catherine, you're a smart girl. Surely you understand how the world works. There are the people who make the rules, and the people the rules are made for. You can be the first or the second. Choose wisely. And if I refuse? Then tomorrow, those graduation photos go to your university admissions office, along with evidence of your addiction. Your scholarship disappears. Your future disappears. You become just another statistic. Talented girl destroyed by drugs. Very sad. He tilted his head. Or worse, you have an accident like your father. Grief-stricken daughter, following in father's footsteps. The narrative writes itself. My hands clenched under the table. You're threatening to kill me. I'm explaining consequences. You're young, dramatic. You'll misunderstand simple cause and effect. He smiled. Now, the drive? I pulled it from my pocket, set it on the table. Everything's on here. Every file, every email, every contract. Thornton picked it up, turned it over in his fingers like a prize. Including the emails about your father's unfortunate accident? About the 73 students we've successfully managed? About the pharmaceutical arrangements? Everything. Excellent. He pocketed the drive. You see, Catherine, this is why we wanted you on our team. You understand value. You understand leverage. That flash drive was worth your father's life, worth 73 students' futures, worth millions in pharmaceutical contracts, and you just handed it over to save yourself. That's survival instinct. That's what we need. He stood, buttoning his jacket. Welcome to the business, Catherine. Petra will be in touch about your university placement. Don't disappoint us. The moment they turned to leave, Marisol and 4 police officers emerged from the diner's kitchen and parking lot, moving fast. Thornton froze, his confident expression cracking for the first time. Police! Nobody move. Marisol's voice cut through the diner. Principal Thornton, Petra Mills, Dominic Laurent, you're under arrest for conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, medical fraud, and murder. Thornton's face went from confident to panicked in seconds. This is entrapment. She's an addict. Her testimony is worthless. Actually, Marisol said, pulling out her badge, she's a minor who is illegally prescribed medication without parental consent, and everything you just said was recorded. She nodded to me. Show them. I pulled out the wire device taped under my shirt, its red light still blinking, including the part where you admitted to killing my father and managing 73 students as products. Thornton lunged at me, but 2 officers grabbed him. You stupid little bitch! Do you have any idea what you've done? Who I know? The people I can call? Call them, I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. Call everyone, because in about 3 hours, every news station in the state is getting a copy of that flash drive, and this recording, and the files showing that your student success program was actually a drug trafficking operation using schools as cover. Petra tried to run but got tackled at the door. Dominic went quietly, probably already calculating his plea deal. As officers read Thornton his rights, he looked at me with pure hatred. You'll regret this. You have no idea what you've started. No, I said. You'll regret underestimating me. They took him away in handcuffs, perfect principal facade completely shattered, his voice still echoing threats as they loaded him into the patrol car. The story broke the next morning. Prestigious principal arrested in student drug trafficking ring, screamed the headlines. My graduation photo appeared on every news channel alongside Thornton's mugshot, the contrast between innocent student and corrupt educator playing on loop. By afternoon, the superintendent had held a press conference announcing a full investigation. By evening, 3 other administrators had been arrested. By the following day, 73 families were calling lawyers and demanding answers about their children's treatment. Vanessa called me sobbing. They're dropping the scholarship review. They admitted the drugs were planted. I'm going to state. Good. Catherine, what you did. That took guts I'll never have. You gave that speech knowing it might cost you everything. That's courage, too. But the victory felt hollow because I was still an addict. The pills Thornton had provided were gone, and my body was screaming for them. That night, I locked myself in my bathroom, sweating and shaking through withdrawal that felt like dying. Mom sat outside the door. You don't have to do this alone, baby. We can get you real help. I don't trust treatment centers, not after seeing what Thornton did. Then trust me, there's someone I want you to meet. Marisol took me to Phoenix House, a recovery program run by survivors. The director, Angela, looked at me without pity. This isn't comfortable. This is crawling through broken glass to get to the other side. I know. Most kids run from consequences. You took down the system before getting clean. That's backwards. Hold on to that when withdrawal makes you want to die. Those first weeks were brutal. Angela sat with me through the worst, never offering easy comfort, just presence. Your father would be proud, Mom said during visits. You finished what he started. I'm not done yet. Thornton's just the beginning. The trial started 4 months later. I was 8 weeks sober, shaky but clear. The prosecutor walked me through everything: graduation, flash drive, diner meeting, recorded confession. Thornton's lawyer attacked. How can this jury trust a self-admitted drug addict? I looked at the jury. Because I'm the addict he created for profit. Being an addict doesn't make me a liar. It makes me someone who survived what he did to 73 students. The evidence was methodical. Flash drive files, pharmaceutical payments, emails about patient management, contracts with Dominic. Most damaging was the diner recording. The jury heard Thornton call students products and managed assets. When Thornton testified, his caring principal persona lasted 5 minutes before the prosecutor destroyed him. Mr. Thornton, did you or did you not provide prescription medication to Catherine Brennan without her parents' knowledge or consent? I facilitated access to necessary medical care. Yes or no, Mr. Thornton? Her mother was aware. Her mother testified she had no knowledge of Dr. Helmsworth. Yes or no, did you provide medication without parental consent? His jaw clenched. I was trying to help a struggling student by creating an addiction you could profit from. Catherine pulled out financial records. You received over $300,000 in consulting fees from pharmaceutical companies over 5 years, companies that manufactured the exact medications you were prescribing to students. Quite a coincidence. Those were legitimate consulting arrangements. For what expertise, Mr. Thornton? You're an educator, not a doctor. What exactly were you consulting about? Student welfare or student recruitment? She played the diner recording. Thornton's voice filled the courtroom. 73 students we've successfully managed, millions in pharmaceutical contracts. His face went red. That was taken out of context. What context makes it acceptable to refer to students as managed products? He had no answer. The jury watched him squirm, watched the mask slip completely, watched the respected principal reveal himself as exactly what the evidence showed, a predator who'd built an empire on vulnerable kids. The prosecutor wasn't done. Let's talk about Derek Brennan, Catherine's father, school board member who died in a convenient accident right after questioning your student medication rates. Coincidence? I had nothing to do with that tragedy. She pulled out emails. This one from you to Dr. Helmsworth. The board member problem needs handling before next quarter. This one, dated 2 days later. Problem resolved. Moving forward. Derek Brennan died between those emails. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. When they returned, Thornton's lawyer stood confidently, but I saw sweat on Thornton's forehead, saw his hands shaking slightly. The mask was cracking. On the count of conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, how do you find? Guilty. Thornton's face went pale. On the count of practicing medicine without a license? Guilty. On the count of medical fraud? Guilty. Count after count. Guilty, guilty, guilty. 12 counts total. On the murder charge for my father, they returned guilty of conspiracy to commit murder. Thornton stood as the verdicts were read, his perfect posture crumbling. When the last guilty verdict came, he actually staggered, grabbing the table for support. Your Honor, he said, his voice cracking, this is a miscarriage of justice. These are the accusations of a disturbed addict. Mr. Thornton, the judge cut him off. Your own recorded words convicted you. Your own emails, your own financial records. The only miscarriage of justice was the years you spent preying on vulnerable students while pretending to help them. At sentencing 2 weeks later, the courtroom was packed. 73 families sat in the gallery, many crying, many holding photos of their children. Some of those children were present, in recovery. Others would never be there. 4 had died of overdoses that suddenly looked a lot less like accidents and a lot more like consequences of Thornton's system. The judge looked at Thornton with undisguised contempt. In my 30 years on the bench, I have never seen a more calculated abuse of trust. You took a position meant to nurture young people and turned it into a criminal enterprise. You created addictions, destroyed families, and by the evidence presented, participated in murder to protect your operation. Thornton sat stone-faced, but I saw tears on his cheeks. Not remorse, fear. He was finally understanding that his perfect life was over. The prosecution has recommended 40 years. I'm inclined to exceed that recommendation. She paused. Before I sentence you, the victims have prepared statements. We'll hear from 3 of them. Vanessa went first, describing how Thornton had started her on focus medication freshman year, how the doses increased until she was dependent, how threatening to cut her off had kept her compliant. He used my scholarship as blackmail. He made me believe I needed him to succeed. I thought he was helping me when really he was destroying me. A boy named Marcus talked about overdosing twice, about the treatment center Thornton had sent him to, one of Petra's facilities that had made his addiction worse while billing his parents $50,000. I tried to kill myself last year because I couldn't see a way out. He convinced me that I was broken, that I'd always need medication, that without him, I was nothing. Then it was my turn. I stood at the podium, looking directly at Thornton. You killed my father because he asked questions. You created my addiction because I was a good student who trusted you. You threatened my future when I tried to break free. You called me Golden Girl while poisoning me. You told me I was a product, an asset, something to be managed. I pulled out my 60-day sobriety chip, held it up. This is what I am now. Sober, free, alive despite your best efforts. You wanted me to be your success story, your proof that the system worked. Instead, I'm the evidence that brought you down. Thornton's lawyer requested he be allowed to speak. The judge nodded. He stood looking smaller than I'd ever seen him, his expensive suit rumpled, his face aged years in months. Your Honor, I want to express my deepest apologies to these students and their families. I lost my way. I let financial pressures and misguided beliefs cloud my judgment. I never intended. Stop, I stood up from the gallery. You don't get to rewrite this as mistakes or good intentions gone wrong. You built a system. You profited from our suffering. You killed my father. You threatened to kill me. Those aren't mistakes. That's who you are. The judge banged her gavel but nodded at me. Sit down, Miss Brennan, but you're not wrong. She turned to Thornton. Your statement is noted for its complete lack of genuine remorse. You're sorry you were caught, not sorry for what you did. She shuffled papers, her face hard. On count 1, conspiracy to distribute controlled substances, 15 years. Count 2, practicing medicine without a license, 10 years. Count 3, medical fraud, 10 years. She continued through all 12 counts, the sentences adding up like weights crushing Thornton's future. Count 12, conspiracy to commit murder, 25 years. These sentences to run consecutively, not concurrently. Total 147 years in federal prison. Thornton's legs gave out. He actually collapsed into his chair, his lawyer grabbing his arm. Your Honor, my client is 62 years old. This is effectively a life sentence. It's exactly a life sentence, counselor. Just like he sentenced these students to lives of addiction. Just like he sentenced Derek Brennan to death. Take him away. As officers led Thornton out in handcuffs, he looked at me one last time. Not with the arrogant confidence from the diner, not with the fake fatherly concern from graduation day, but with pure, impotent rage. I gave you everything, he hissed as they pulled him past my row. I made you valedictorian. I made you special. And this is how you repay me? You made me an addict, I replied calmly. I made myself sober. We're not the same. They dragged him away, his voice echoing down the courthouse hallway. I know people. This isn't over. I'll appeal. You'll see. The door closed, cutting off his protests. In the hallway afterward, reporters swarmed. I gave one statement. Principal Thornton spent years building a system to exploit vulnerable students. Today, that system was dismantled. To any educator considering something similar, we're watching now. We're not afraid anymore, and we will always choose truth over silence. The news coverage was relentless for weeks. Student brings down principal's drug empire, read the national headlines. My graduation photo appeared beside Thornton's mugshot on every network. The perfect visual of innocence betrayed and justice restored. But the story wasn't over. Petra Mills got 15 years for her role in the treatment center fraud. Dominic took a plea deal for 10 years in exchange for testifying about the distribution network. Dr. Helmsworth lost his medical license and got 8 years for medical fraud. 3 other school administrators who'd been complicit got sentences ranging from 5 to 12 years. The school district paid out $18 million in settlements to the 73 families. Recovery got harder before it got easier. At 90 days sober, the cravings were still brutal. Angela from Phoenix House sat with me through the worst nights. Your body is healing from 3 years of poison. It's going to fight you. Does it get better? Yes, but not because the desire goes away, because you get stronger than the desire. I started attending meetings in church basements, listening to people who'd been sober for decades, learning that survival was possible even when it felt impossible. I worked through the steps, made amends to people I'd hurt, rebuilt trust with my mother and brother piece by piece. Kyle, my little brother who'd watched me nearly die on that graduation stage, started coming to family sessions. "I was so angry at you," he admitted. "I thought you chose drugs over us. I didn't understand you were trapped. I'm sorry I scared you. I'm sorry I didn't help you sooner." Mom planted a garden that spring, something she'd always wanted but never had time for when she was working 3 jobs to support us after Dad died. Watching her hands in the soil, creating something instead of just surviving, felt like its own kind of recovery. "Your father would be so proud," she told me one afternoon, dirt under her fingernails, tears in her eyes. "Not just of what you did, but of who you're becoming." "I'm becoming someone who tells the truth. That's all. That's everything." 1 year sober felt like a miracle. I'd started community college studying psychology, drawn to understanding what had happened and how to prevent it. My professors knew my story, everyone did, but treated me like a student, not a celebrity. Vanessa and I met weekly for coffee, both navigating college and recovery. She was thriving at State, studying journalism, writing about institutional corruption. "I'm covering the Thornton appeal," she told me. "His lawyers are arguing the recording was illegal. It won't work. Marisol had warrants." I'd received 3 letters from Thornton in prison. I burned them all unread. His voice had controlled me for 3 years. He didn't get any more of my time. The school district implemented new policies, mandatory external audits of student medication rates, parental consent for prescription referrals, anonymous reporting for students. They called it the Brennan Protocol after my father. I attended the dedication ceremony as they unveiled a plaque honoring Derek Brennan's commitment to student welfare. "He asked the right questions," the superintendent said. "We'll never make that mistake again." 2 years sober, I transferred to university for my psychology degree. During orientation, the counseling director mentioned pharmaceutical support. I raised my hand. "What safeguards prevent overprescription?" The room went quiet. Someone whispered, "That's Catherine Brennan." The director answered each question. Afterward, she approached me. "Join our student advisory board. We need perspectives like yours." Within 6 months, we'd implemented additional safeguards, peer review processes, and direct reporting to the state medical board. "You're making enemies," another board member warned. "Doctors don't like being questioned." Good. Students shouldn't have to nearly die to realize they're being exploited. My professors encouraged graduate programs in clinical counseling. "You understand the system from inside. That's valuable. I'm not sure I want to be what Thornton claimed to be. He was a predator wearing a counselor's mask. You'd be the real thing." 3 years sober, I applied to graduate programs in addiction counseling. My essay was blunt. I was high at my own graduation. A principal I trusted created my addiction for profit. I brought down his system. Now I want to prevent what happened to me from happening to others. I got accepted everywhere. I chose the program affiliated with Phoenix House. Angela smiled. "You're going to be good at this. Not because you survived addiction, but because you survived and fought back." Graduate school was brutal. I worked with teenagers in crisis, many caught in systems like Thornton's. Some chose recovery, some weren't ready. I learned to offer help without demanding they take it. My thesis examined institutional exploitation of vulnerable populations. My advisor called it groundbreaking and uncomfortable, which means it's important. I presented at conferences about warning signs of exploitation. Audiences were split: defensive, grateful, uncomfortable. "You're accusing good people of being predators," one principal challenged. "I'm asking good people to examine their systems. Thornton looked good for 15 years. That's how exploitation hides." 5 years sober, I'd completed my degree, earned my clinical license, and joined Phoenix House as a counselor. My first client was 17-year-old Becca, arms crossed, defiant. "I don't need counseling. My parents overreact." I pulled out my 5-year chip. I was high at my own graduation. I almost died on my bathroom floor. I helped bring down a principal running a drug operation. "I'm not here to judge or fix you. I'm here to show you the way out if you choose it." She stared. "You're the girl from the news." "Yeah. Did sobriety get easier?" "No, it got harder, but it got real. Real is better than the lie addiction tells you is safety." Over months, I worked with teenagers in crisis. I reported 3 counselors for inappropriate practices. I consulted on 5 exploitation cases. I helped dismantle 2 treatment programs profiting from extended dependencies. The media asked for updates. Where is Thornton now? I gave the same answer. Thornton is where he belongs. His appeals fail because evidence overwhelms him. I don't think about him. I think about students I can help now. His 3rd appeal was denied when I celebrated 6 years sober. The ruling was final. He would die in prison. His wife divorced him, his children changed their names, his reputation destroyed. Everything he'd built, gone. Phoenix House expanded to 3 locations. Angela promoted me to program director, overseeing counselors statewide. We implemented protocols based on what I'd survived. You're creating the oversight that should have protected you, Angela observed. Trauma becoming purpose. Vanessa broke a story about a treatment center using Thornton's tactics. Her article cited my research, led to federal investigations. We'd gone from victims to advocates. We're making a difference, she said. The pain didn't mean something. What we did with it means something. 7 years sober brought new challenges. I oversaw addiction programs statewide, trained counselors, reviewed protocols, testified as an expert witness. The FBI called. They were investigating a national treatment center network using pharmaceutical kickbacks. Would I consult? How big? 17 facilities, 9 states, over 1,000 victims. I thought about refusing. But I thought more about kids still trapped. Send the information. The investigation lasted 8 months. The network's leader, Dr. Vincent Hayes, was charismatic, respected, corrupt. When arrested, he said I was helping people. This is a misunderstanding. I was in court when he was sentenced. 35 years. As they led him away, he sneered at victims. You're all just addicts looking for someone to blame. The judge called him back. Let the record show complete lack of remorse. I'm adding 10 years for contempt. 45 years total. Another predator in prison. Another circle closed. 8 years sober. I was invited to speak at my old high school's graduation. Dr. Shaw, the new principal brought in to rebuild trust, personally called. Our students need to hear how you turned survival into service. I almost declined. The thought of that stage where I'd been high and trapped made my stomach clench. But Angela convinced me. You're not that girl anymore. Show them who you became. Graduation day arrived warm and clear. I sat on stage watching students in caps and gowns, seeing my younger self everywhere. The nervous girl, the exhausted boy, the too perfect student hiding something. Dr. Shaw introduced me. Our speaker today is someone whose story isn't about what was done to her. It's about what she did next. I stood at the podium and told the truth. 8 years ago, I stood on this stage high on pills Micah, principal, had given me. I was valedictorian, supposedly successful, actually dying. I thought I was alone and powerless. I was wrong. I talked about finding the flash drive, the diner meeting, bringing down Thornton's system. Taking down one predator took courage for one night. Getting sober took courage every single day for 8 years. Some of you are struggling right now, I continued. Some are being offered help that's actually harm. I'm here to tell you that silence protects predators and truth protects victims. If someone in authority is making you dependent on them, that's not help, that's exploitation. I pulled out my 8-year chip. This represents choosing truth over comfort every single day. It started when I decided I was worth fighting for, and that the next person trapped in a similar system deserved someone who'd already survived it. The applause built. Students stood. Parents stood. Teachers stood, many crying. After the ceremony, a girl whispered that her counselor was pushing medication that made her feel worse. Tell your parents today. And if they don't listen, call this number. I gave her Phoenix House's direct line. Ask for me specifically. 2 weeks later, that counselor was fired. 3 other students came forward. The investigation revealed inappropriate prescription practices and pharmaceutical kickbacks. You're building a network of protection, Dr. Shaw told me. This is Thornton's legacy being overwritten. 10 years sober arrived quietly on a Tuesday morning. I marked it alone in my office before my first client arrived, holding the decade chip in my palm and remembering the girl who'd been high at her own graduation, so lost she couldn't imagine a path forward. The journey from there to here hadn't been heroic or pretty. It had been showing up day after day, choosing discomfort over numbness, rebuilding trust I'd destroyed, learning to sit with emotions instead of medicating them away. Unglamorous, necessary work that had somehow built a life worth living. My first client that day was a 17-year-old named Taylor who'd been referred by the court system. She slouched in the chair, refusing eye contact, radiating defensive anger. "I don't need counseling, this is bullshit." I pulled out my 10-year chip and set it on the desk. I was high at my own graduation. I helped bring down a principal running a drug trafficking ring. I almost died on my mother's bathroom floor while my little brother screamed for help. I destroyed relationships, betrayed people who loved me, participated in a system that nearly destroyed other kids. So I'm not here to judge your choices, but I am here to tell you that if you want a different life, it's possible. It's hard as hell, but it's possible. Taylor's eyes flicked to the chip. 10 years? 10 years. One day at a time, one choice at a time, and I stayed sober long enough to bring somebody else home. That's the work. That's what matters. She was quiet for a long moment. Then, the principal who trafficked drugs, what happened to him? He's in federal prison serving a 147-year sentence. He'll die there. His reputation is destroyed, his family left him, he lost everything he spent decades building. Meanwhile, I run addiction counseling programs across 3 states, train new counselors, consult on institutional exploitation cases, and help kids like you survive systems designed to destroy them. I leaned forward. He thought I was weak because I was an addict. He thought I'd stay quiet to protect myself. He was wrong. And every day I stay sober and help someone else escape what he built, I prove him wrong all over again. Taylor met my eyes for the first time. "Did you really testify against him?" I wore a wire to a meeting where he threatened to kill me, recorded his entire confession, then watched him get arrested. Then I testified in court for 3 days while he watched his empire crumble. Then I stayed sober through the hardest years of my life, just to make sure he knew he didn't win. A small smile crossed her face. "That's pretty badass." "No, staying sober today is badass. Bringing you home is badass. Revenge was satisfying, but recovery is the real victory." We worked together for 6 months. She chose recovery, enrolled in community college, started rebuilding relationships with her family. On her 90-day sobriety anniversary, she brought me a card that said simply, "Thank you for staying sober long enough to show me it was possible." That night, I stood before my recovery group and shared my 10-year milestone. The room applauded, and I felt the weight of those 10 years, the pain and growth and service, settle into something like peace. The girl in the cap and gown with unfocused eyes had become the counselor sitting with scared teenagers, offering them the same lifeline that had once been offered to me. Principal Thornton had tried to make me a profitable product. Instead, I'd become the force that dismantled his empire and built something better from the ruins. I was high at my own graduation, but I stayed sober long enough to bring somebody else home. That's justice. That's victory. That's enough.